find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, one half a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us.
Welcome into Gibson Fantasy Football Podcast. We are joined today with a threesome of hosts here. Myself, Josh, and Aaron from the GFF team, and we got special guest Conan with us today.
How we doing? Thank you again for having me on, and can't wait to talk about some of these tight ends and rack your brain with some trivia at the end.
Can't wait. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to see what we got for trivia and get a chance to go head to head with Aaron there and see who fares better.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, so if you're looking to find our stuff, we got it on the website at GibsonFantasyFootball.com, Twitter, Gibson_FF, and then YouTube and Podbean and Instagram on the channel. Everything's there, just Gibson Fantasy Football. So let's dive in. As Conan alluded to, we are in part 2 of the Risers and Fallers series, and we're jumping in with tight ends. So we got 2 at each position. Partly because tight ends, like after you get past the first 6 or 8, it's pretty much not important. And partly because we wanted to save some time for trivia. So let's delve in. We get the fallers out of the way first so we can end with some happy news. But the first one here, and certainly my biggest loser of the bunch, would be Dallas Goedert from the Eagles. What are our thoughts here on Goedert and the situation that he finds himself in?
I mean, I'll kick things off. I've always been told an elite tight end has to be the number 1 or number 2 target in their offense. And A.J. Brown coming over from Tennessee, that definitely puts that in jeopardy. And obviously they drafted Devontae Smith last year, very high draft capital there. And I just don't know if Goedert, even with the, he has a connection with Hurts. They always use tight ends, and he's, it's going to be tough for him to still be the number 2 target in that offense and still try to feed A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I totally agree with the faller. And, we thought Zach Ertz was gone. It's finally Goddard season, but then they bring in just 6'3" A.J. Brown, who's just an absolute beast, and I'm excited to watch him this year. So, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
Aaron, what are your thoughts there, buddy?
Yeah, I can't say it any better than that because I agree 100%. Like, especially for quarterback too, that's really good at running for those short distance first downs. Sometimes those tight ends are really like decent in those spots, but I think with a quarterback like Hurts, it just takes away from that. And yeah, you got A.J. Brown, just a beast, man. What he did in that playoff game, that was just crazy, man. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, low volume passing offense to start with. So, you need, even more so, puts emphasis on your point about being the number 1 or number 2 target. And so there's already a small opportunity for volume, and now it's gotten smaller. And I think he'll still be utilized. I think he's still relevant. He's probably still a top 10 tight end, but that might not mean much if he's in the, tight end 6 to 10 range, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once we get past those first 5 or 6 guys, it's almost a pick your poison every week kind of scenario. So we'll see how he shakes out this year, but certainly lower ceiling and maybe even lower floor than he had entering the season.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree, obviously, with all of that. And it's a lot of what you said with the smaller pie to begin with. And it's like the Ravens pre this past season where they had to ramp up their passing game because every single running back they had on their roster tore their ACL. But, and before that, it was, Mark Andrews could be in that top 5 range because he was the number 2 or 1 even sometimes target. And it's like, even though that pie is small, he got just enough of it. And I just don't see Goddard getting enough of that small pie to warrant any top 5 discussion. Obviously, there's kind of a top 5 cemented, but if he's not right there at 6 or 7, like, is he even worth any type of premium in the draft? I'd say,
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
The next fella certainly was not in that kind of range, but had some of his hopes and dreams of being a top 12 tight end and being super fantasy relevant take a hit there. So next up, Mo Alley-Cox for the Indianapolis Colts. What are we thinking of the addition they made in the draft and the impact it's got on him?
I could talk all day about not Mo Alley-Cox, but the guy they drafted in. I think he's a crazy athlete, but I'll let Aaron start, and then I'll clean it up.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I liked the draft pick as well too, and I think I'm excited to see Matt Ryan in Indianapolis and see what he can do with the tight ends, because it always seemed like he was more of a wide receiver guy in Atlanta. So that's going to be an interesting thing. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It does seem like Matt Ryan, it was that every other year he was the QB2 in fantasy, weird thing he had for a while. And, obviously that still meant he was propelling Julio and, Calvin, Ridley, and other players to a really high finish. But it didn't really seem, besides that, weird Austin Hooper breakout year, it doesn't seem like he's fueled a recent tight end of note that's that fantasy relevant. So, but back to Mo Alley-Cox, I was definitely interested in the hype going into the off season. He definitely showed out a little bit more at the end of the season. He's just a gigantic human being, and he just plays box out basketball, and it's ridiculous. But I say that, but then the guy they drafted just makes him look not even that impressive, because Jelani Woods, this guy is a freak of nature. And he's 6'7", he's 250 to 260, depending on where you're looking. But he's a tight end who's played tight end for basically 1 year. And it's crazy, because he played wide receiver for 3 years in college. Didn't really catch anyone's attention, wasn't really, that effective, didn't catch too many balls. And then he went to Virginia. He transferred full-time to tight end, and he absolutely broke out. And it makes sense, because, he has a relative athletic score of a perfect 10 out of 10. and it's like, not many guys have that crazy athleticism. And, we're talking about guys like Kittle and Kelsey and Waller, like those guys don't even reach that type of number. And at the same time, those guys definitely hit the 9 on that mark. And that's why I'm just so intrigued by Jelani Woods. And, even if he doesn't do anything that fantasy relevant this year, which I still think he has some appeal, later in the season, I just don't think this is going to be a 3-headed tight end room for half the season, at least. I feel like with Kylan Grant's in there as well. And so it's crazy. And hopefully they drafted him in I believe the 3rd round for a reason. And they saw how crazy raw athletic he is, and are as excited as I am for it. So, obviously Mo Alley-Cox taking a big hit, just because he's got another just gigantic freak human in the same tight end room now.
Well, that's it, right? Like you said, it's a player of the same mold, but everything that he's got in terms of physical attributes, Jelani Woods has better. So definitely breathing down his neck to take over that number 1 role. And in an offense that, really after Pittman, it's pretty wide open. So while I'm not as excited for Mo Alley-Cox, Jelani Woods, if he could emerge, certainly there's an opportunity there. I mean, target volume could still be there for either or both to some degree, but Mo Cox hasn't really ever proven that he could take on that lead role. Like you said, he had a little bit of a flash at the end of last season, but we'll see, right? I mean, I think, again, he goes out of that relevant conversation. Once you get outside the top 12, you're just tossing darts at people that may or may not have a good year.
Absolutely.
All right, let's flip it over. I'm pretty excited about both of these two guys. I was probably excited about them even prior, but let's jump in with our two risers. So Mr. Irv Smith of the Minnesota Vikings. Let's see what's the thoughts here. What are we thinking on him?
You want me to jump in? I'll jump in. I mean, I think the biggest, maybe not the biggest, but a big surprise for me in the draft, especially in that first round, was I saw a lot of mocks getting one of those top 5 wide receivers going to the Vikings in the first round. And, obviously Jefferson managers were scared of that. Maybe not too scared, but that definitely wouldn't have helped too much with, a guy like Kirk Cousins. While he can do it to some degree, it's not like he's going to provide 2 wide receiver ones, I don't think, so. But I think, they let Conklin leave. He signed with the Jets. Chris Herndon, who wasn't really that involved on the team anyway, is still a free agent. And so I think it's just Irv Smith. Obviously, he's been a sleeper and had a lot of hype in years past, but he's had some injuries, very unfortunately. And so hopefully he comes back fully healthy and he has that tight end room basically to himself. I think he's got like Munt and Ellison behind him in the tight end room, like something like that. And those guys are primarily just blocking guys. So I think he's got a lot of potential. Obviously they have Jefferson, they have Thielen, but besides that, they haven't had a true wide receiver 3 really emerge enough to warrant any problems for Irv. So yeah.
Anything to add there, Aaron?
Yeah, he's on the rise. Like, it seems like his numbers are going up each year. So, I mean, a guy like that, it's a bit of a risk, I think, to take, maybe, But, again, if you're running low on tight ends, I have the worst luck with tight ends. So that's why I'm just always cautious with tight ends, because I pick up a tight end, either he gets injured or it's just like, it's horrible. So that's why I'm hesitant to say anything about tight ends right now.
It's an absolute landmine, man. It's just you're grabbing whoever you can.
It's bad some years for me. I don't know what it is, man. I got to do a better study on tight ends. I'm listening to every word you're saying right now, man, because I'm writing notes. I'm taking notes down right now.
Get educated.
I mean, that is definitely it's a tough position when there's just so few that you can consistently rely on to give you not even an edge, but to give you a good standing. And it's like I know for a fact he's gonna get me not 0 points. And even you think that, and you still get games out of, didn't Hawkinson have some 1 point or 0 point, something like that, goose egg. Like Gesicki, I think, had some crazy goose egg. And those guys were for sure 5 through 10 options, so it's I don't blame you for your tight end luck is all I'm saying.
There's never 12 reliable tight ends for a 12-team league.
No, never.
You're lucky to get 6.
8-team, maybe. Yeah.
So just to follow up on Irv Smith, I liked what you were talking about there, and I think what was interesting last year is we saw at different points with Thielen kind of aging and sometimes injured that either Tyler Conklin or KJ Osborne, they could flash here and there. And so I think that's kind of the way I view Irv Smith. I don't see him as, again, we just talked about guys like Gesicki, Hawkinson that I would put ahead of him also have bad games. So I'm not going to say he's going to produce on a weekly basis, but I think he's worthy of being in that top 12 conversation and somebody that, especially in games where they're going to have to throw the ball a lot and play in some decent competition, is a good option those weeks.
Absolutely.
All right. Speaking of folks on the rise, a fan favorite, Mr. Pat Freiermuth of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last but not least, Aaron, you want to jump in first on this one?
Yeah, I'll make it short and sweet. I'm taking one of these rookie tight ends this year in the draft, and I'm going to put my money on one of them.
A rookie
So
tight
fingers
end.
crossed. I'm thinking Jelani Woods, but because I think you sold me on him in his height at 6'7". Woo, that's a beast.
It's yeah. I mean, that's just a shot you're not going to have to waste any in a redraft. Like, he's likely going undrafted. Maybe there's some crazy hype train that rides through the summer, but he's likely going to be an undrafted guy. And it's like, why not use that 17th, 16th, whatever last round pick? He's probably going to be some guy I like to take a shot on at the end like that. And it's like, definitely in these dynasty rookie drafts that have been going on, it's like, that's someone I try to grab in the third round, early third round as anywhere I can. And it's like, I'd rather have him early third than Trey McBride in the mid second. Like, I don't know.
They could sit on your bench for a little bit, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Especially in that format, it's like there's a taxi slot for a reason. And
That's right. Okay, Freiermuth, we'll let you jump in there, Conan. I'm sure you got something to talk about here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I see the this was probably the one that I wasn't the strongest on with all the other names. Basically, I know they didn't add a tight end to the room or anything. He's still really only competing with Zach Gentry in that tight end room, but they did add Pickens. He's just another mouth to feed, really. It's like, obviously they don't play the same style. Like, obviously Freiermuth is a big red zone threat. That was really the only part where I was like, maybe Pickens, just with his frame, helps them in the red zone there too, and that might overlap, But either way, I just think he produced, a reasonable amount for especially a rookie tight end last year who wasn't playing that much. He played over 75% of the snaps just 3 times, and you definitely see that number going up this year. So he'll be on the field more, and I like the love, and I love Stat Freiermuth. So, that's been one of my names on the Twitter sphere. So, I love the guy, and I had him a couple different spots. He helped me win some weeks for sure. And so I'm not trying to hate. I just definitely think, that's if we don't see a huge jump, I won't be surprised,
I'm with you. I don't feel as strongly here as I do about Irv for sure. I agree. They did add Pickens and even Calvin Austin later in the draft, both of whom, slot in as potential receivers. They did have James Washington. He left, but there's someone else there that his name's escaped me now. That was going to be the third option. But they didn't grab a tight end. The only other thing that I thought of that was kind of a benefit to him is that they did draft Pickett. So it does provide some long-term security at quarterback of, okay, if you had Mitch Trubisky and it failed, then what? And so you got some of these teams where you're looking at like Mariota, and then you're thinking, okay, Desmond Ridder comes in, or okay, Tannehill, like that's a little more secure. But some of these teams where some of the tight ends are linked to some interesting quarterback options. So at least we know he's likely got somebody decent this year and next year kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. Obviously, with Big Ben leaving, retiring, we didn't know what the state of that quarterback, that passing game was going to be. Obviously, they signed Trubisky pretty quickly, but he wasn't the long-term option. At least we didn't think so, and they clearly also didn't think so, drafting their guy in the first round before 3 rounds before, or 2 rounds before any other quarterback goes. So. I definitely agree. There's some maybe not for this year, but I could see a big explosion breakout season coming at some point in the future for sure.
Yeah, and we'll see what they do with Claypool and Deontay, because they're coming up in the next year and then the year after for contracts.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I'm thinking. I mean, my initial thought was that Claypool was gone for sure, and that was like Pickens. He can kind of do similar stuff, but also just it doesn't seem to have worked out as well as the rookie year has gone. There's been, not just on field, but some off field little quarrels and stuff like that. So, that was my initial thought, but who knows? They could keep all three and they could all just be really good. Who knows?
Time will tell.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of questions.
Well, I got one quick thing. I didn't think you would have a thing up for it, but I wanted to get one name. Being the Pats guy, I know I got my Pats jersey on. Wanted to throw one little honorable mention just because I was looking at some numbers and I just thought something was interesting. And that's my guy, Jonnu Smith. Obviously, Patriots spent a lot of money on him last summer, and he more or less busted this year, especially in fantasy terms. Oh, yeah, there we go. But obviously, recently, the Pats cut their fullback, Jacob, I don't know, who knows, but he was, and that might not be a big deal on almost every team in the league, but the Pats love using their fullbacks, and so much it was the second most in the league. It was only, Juszczyk and the 49ers that used two running backs more often, and I just think that's signaling the Pats like, all right, hand up, like we definitely misused him. We didn't use him as much as we should have. Like we paid him and Henry. Like I think we got to use him more wherever it is. And I think they'll just use more and more two tight end sets too, and just get hopefully more creative with him and actually use him since they paid him so much money. And so I just wanted to throw his name out there. It's, again, not a guy that is going to be a hot fantasy commodity by any means, but don't be surprised if you hear some rumblings later in the summer. Ooh, Pats really love the potential for what they can do with Jonnu, like last year all over again. It's like
Here comes the hype train.
Hopefully they stay true to course,
Yeah.
So that's just another name.
We'll see. Anything's possible, man. I mean, he's talented. Him and Henry both talented, but
absolutely.
Yeah, and they, some spike weeks with the touchdowns last year, so who knows, right? Maybe some more consistency. Mac Jones takes a step forward. Anything's possible.
I feel like some of these tight ends, you watch the matchups, if they're playing like a bottom 10 defense on for tight end matchups, you can steal some points some weeks when these guys are just sitting there and you can pick them up or have them on your bench already and steal you.
Yeah, I mean that's something along with defenses in redraft. I'm like, if I don't have one of the top three, I'm likely just punting as a whole, taking some shots late in the draft, and then just gonna stream just the whole time. Like, and I like that's I stay true to that especially for defenses. I know we're talking tight ends, but even tight end, I had a team last year still went strong all year long, and I literally didn't know who I was going to play at tight end most weeks.
There's always somebody in that position. Tight ends and quarterbacks. It's a onesie position, so there's
exactly
as long as it's not super flex.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Conan, you want to take it from here? Get us rolling with some Jeopardy. See if Aaron and I are up to the task.
Absolutely. So I'll share my screen with you guys so I can pull up that Jeopardy board. All right.
Okay.
It might take a second.
There we go.
You got the board up?
We got it.
All right. So I made up Jeopardy, a little fantasy / just general NFL stat Jeopardy game, but it's going to be competed a little bit differently than normal Jeopardy. Obviously, we don't have buzzers and horns and whatnot. So basically, we'll figure out who's going to start, and they will have whatever on the board. They will have first dibs at their answer, and then the other person can either choose to agree or disagree, and you have to pick one or the other, and then obviously disagree and pick a different answer. And then I'll keep track of my score here, and it'll basically just be if you both get it right, then obviously you both get the points. If one of you gets and one of you don't, so on and so forth.
I like it.
Yeah, sounds
All
good.
right. So
All right.
we got who had more. So it's just going to be two names who had more in whatever the category is.
Okay.
We got more, yes or less. So I
Ooh.
got a statement, and you got to tell me, did that player have more than that statement, that stat? Did he have less, or did he actually have that stat? And you said, and that's the yes, right? So, and then we got 33% is just three names. You got to give me the right one in a stat, in a category, in the question. We got rank them, which is also three names, but you got to give me them in order and actually give me the 1, 2, 3.
Nice.
And then we got high low, which is four names, but you just got to tell me who had the best in that stat, who had the worst in that stat.
Okay.
And so I did try my best, like the 100s, the 200s, like some of them are very easy. There are some 300 ones that are easier, but they do get a little bit harder. And I tried my best to do it, but don't be shocked if there's, some 100 that's like kind of hard. And then there's some 400 that's like, why is this a 400? So I apologize for any of those, but I think it'll be fun either way. So I don't know how you guys want to decide, but one of you has the board.
You have to take it easy on us Canadians. We're not.
All right, Aaron. You want to pick first, buddy?
Yeah. All right. Let's go with rank them for 100.
Rank them for 100. All right. So rank these three names in order of most receiving touchdowns, and these are 2021 regular season stats, by the way.
Okay.
So last season. Yep. And so rank them in order of most receiving touchdowns. We got Justin Jefferson. We got Jalen Waddle. We got Cooper Kupp.
All right, Aaron, you get first guess.
So you got first guess. You rank them in 1, 2, 3, and then Josh will have the chance to either agree, disagree, and give another answer.
I gotta go with Jefferson, Kupp, and Waddle.
I'm going to go reverse of the first two. So I'll go Kupp, Jefferson, Waddle.
Kupp, Jefferson, Waddle. Okay. All right. We'll see. What is it? We got Kupp, Jefferson, Waddle. All right. So Josh will get that 100, and we will go back to the board. So I don't want to exit out to scratch off the hundreds, but I'm keeping track of which ones we have done.
All right.
And so Josh, yep, you have the board now.
All right, let's stay in the 100 so we can keep it simple and remember what we've done. Let's go the more yes or less.
More yes or less, 100. Joe Mixon had 5 games with 15 plus PPR points. So that's like more games, yes, or he had less games.
I'll go more.
More. Aaron, what's your answer?
I'll go less.
Less? All right. Let's see. More. He had 8 games with 15 plus PPR points.
I got him on my fantasy team. Like I nailed it for me.
I was going to say that's. I actually bought his jersey at the end of this fantasy season. I've started a thing where I buy a fantasy jersey of some guy that helped me win the most leagues for me that year, and so I got Kyler, I got Herbert, and I got Mixon so far.
That's awesome. I might have to join that.
Good tradition.
It's a cool. I just use I use like some random fake website or whatever. It's like, and it looks completely real, but it takes a month or two.
We do the same.
Of course. All right, we try on the board.
Let's try high low then.
High low. All right. So top 10 weekly finishes. We got Cooper Kupp, Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, Jacoby Myers. And obviously that is at the wide receiver position, PPR scoring.
All right, so highest is going to be Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
And lowest, I'm going to go Jacoby Myers.
All right. What do we say? What do we think, Aaron?
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Agree. Okay. Cooper Kupp at the top, Jacoby at the bottom. Very good. Very good. You both get those.
Way to ride my coattails, Aaron. All right. Let's do the 33% for 100 then.
33%. So who had the most rushing touchdowns out of these three? Damian Harris, Derrick Henry, or Ezekiel Elliott?
This is a good one because it should have been Derrick Henry, and you would have thought normally Zeke, but yeah, I think it was Damian Harris.
Damian Harris. All right, Aaron?
Yeah, Damian Harris.
Damian Harris. Yes, by 5 touchdowns. So Derrick Henry and Zeke had the same amount at 10.
And Derrick
Damian
Henry
Harris
played
with that.
what, 7 games?
Yeah, exactly. And but
crazy,
Damian
man.
Harris with that crazy 15 touchdowns definitely helped secure a spot, I believe, somewhere in like the top 24 running backs.
Yeah, I think he was like the top 20.
Yeah. So do we want to close off the 100s?
Let's finish
All right.
up.
All right. Games with 20 plus PPR points. Justin Jefferson or Deebo Samuel?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I actually think this is one of the ones I was referring to as a 100 that might be a little bit harder than a 100.
I'm pretty sure it was Deebo, but this is definitely the toughest one so far.
Deebo, all right.
I'll go
Aaron?
opposite.
You'll go opposite. All right.
Yeah.
Deebo had 8. Justin Jefferson had 7. Yeah, that was a close one.
I was like, man, they both finished top 10, but Deebo finished higher. I think he had more.
That's good logic. All right, we've crushed all the 100s. Where do we want to go next?
All right, Aaron, I'll let you jump back in and pick one.
Oh, you're pitting. You're giving me pity. This is the Canadian way. This is how we. Sorry,
yeah, you're too nice.
Let's go with 33% for 200.
All right. Who had the highest touchdown percentage? Joe Burrow, Tom Brady, or Patrick Mahomes?
I believe it was Tom Brady, wasn't it?
Tom Brady is Aaron's answer. Anyone else, or Josh? Anything else, or are we agree?
It could have been, but I'm gonna go Joe Burrow here.
You're going Joe Burrow. Let's see what it is.
Yeah,
it's Joe Burrow. He had a crazy 6.5 touchdown percentage. Brady not far behind. He's at 6. You know, he's not lacking, right? But Pat Mahomes actually the bottom of those 3, which is maybe somewhat surprising, but
yeah.
We'll see if Tyreek-less Mahomes does better this year.
Yeah, oof. That's a story for another episode.
Right? All right, let's do high-low.
High-low. All right. Passing touchdowns. Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Pat Mahomes.
This is a good one because I'm pretty confident that Stafford had the most, but in terms of the least,
it's a little tricky.
I think it was Carr, even though he had a ton of yards. I don't think he had many touchdowns.
Okay. Aaron, anything to add, or we agree with that?
I'll just for the fun of it, I'll take Stafford top, but I'll take Prescott.
Prescott. All right. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, we got Stafford. You knew it. Stafford was at the top, but Derek Carr, he had a solid season last year, and I think this one definitely stumped my buddies when I had them play it because they thought Derek Carr was in the middle of the pack there too. So
he had like over 4,000 yards, right?
Exactly. So I think the touchdowns weren't there. He had the yardage, so that was a little deceiving of a stat.
I like it. Keeping me on my toes, man.
I couldn't take my boy though. I thought for sure.
Can't disrespect him.
Yeah.
All right, let's go rank them.
Rank them. All right. Rank in order of most 100-plus yard receiving games last year. Austin Eckler. We got A.J. Brown. We got Terry McLaurin.
Oof. This is a good one. Austin Eckler, A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin. All right, I'll go. Even though he was so boom bust, I think A.J. Brown had at least a few. But Terry McLaurin, I know, had a couple as well. So let's go. It shouldn't be Eckler because he's a running back, but he is a receiving back. So I'm going to stick with the logic that he's a running back and ride that out. I'll go A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, Austin Eckler.
Okay, Aaron, we agree with that, or do you got a different order?
I was thinking
you
the
agree?
same thing because I know Terry McLaurin had a few.
All right, let's see.
Oh,
here's the first. I got you here.
This is
finally,
the one.
Josh.
This is the one.
I got you there finally, right? So McLaurin, he had 4, but AJ Brown, all 3 of his, he probably had 150 plus in each of those.
Yeah,
that was the difference is in the regular season, and then obviously he had the crazy playoff game, but. Yeah. It was 3 massive 150 plus yard games compared to squeaking by 100.
Nice.
And Eckler was just a good throwaway because you'd think he's thrown in there for a reason. Maybe he's a really good receiving back, but he did only have 1 100-yard receiving game, which is a really high mark for a running back. Obviously, it
was enough to get me thinking.
Exactly.
Okay, what do we got left on him? 200.
So we got more yes or less, and we had who had more. The first two.
Let's do more yes or less.
All right. Allen Robinson had 3 games with 15 plus PPR points. More games? Yes. He had exactly 3 or less than 3 games.
I'm gonna go less.
Less. Aaron, what do we think?
Yes.
You're going with yes. All right. Let's see. Less. He actually had 0 games with 15 plus.
Just to show one of my leagues, and I was like, I don't think he ever hit that mark.
I traded for him in my dynasty league pretty early in the season, and hopefully, he helps me out this year and kind of makes that up for me. But it was, it was like Michael Gallup and a third or something. So I still, I thought I was buying low on a slow start to the season, but man, was I wrong.
I thought that guy burned me a few times, but I'm trying to think of when they're not on my team. That guy burned me a few times. Yeah, he did.
Did we want to close out the 200s?
Let's do it.
All right. Who had more games with 4 plus receptions? We got Josh Jacobs going against Cordero Patterson.
Feels like this should be real, obviously, Cordero, but it's got me thinking a bit because I know Jacobs hit a career high for receptions this year, and Cordero faded hard down the stretch. So this is enough to get my brain juices flowing here.
That's what I thought.
I'm still gonna go Cordero. I'll still stick with that.
All right, Aaron, what do we think?
I was thinking the same thing, but I'm just to make this a little bit interesting. I'll take Josh Jacobs first.
Okay. And I think that is a great choice because Josh Jacobs was consistent. So he was consistent with his 4 plus reception games where Cordero Patterson had 6 in his first 8 weeks and then didn't have a single one the rest of the year. So that's I thought that was that's a good one.
Like,
and that's especially if it's I'm glad it's getting a little tricky. All right, Aaron, you got the board now for sure. What do we got?
There you go, buddy.
All right, more yes or less. Let's just stick to 300.
All right, don't be afraid. You can go up anywhere. I'm keeping track either way. So, all right. Najee Harris would have finished as the RB1 with 3 more touchdowns. So would he have needed more touchdowns, less touchdowns, or is that true? Is that a true statement right there?
I think he would have needed Najee Harris. More.
Okay. Josh, what do we think?
I think it's spot on. I think that's the right number.
Think it's spot on? All right. So more, and then we got a yes. More. He would have needed 13 touchdowns. So he was the number 3 running back on the year in PPR, and number 1 was JT at 373.
Man,
so
the gap was so high.
It is. It was crazy. All right. There's another one. He's creeping back.
All
right. What do we? What else we got now?
Let's go high low for 500. Let's take a 500 question.
500. Let's go. We got top 5 weekly finishes. We got Ryan Tannehill, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. So you got to tell me who had the most, who had the least.
I'm going to say Trevor Lawrence, the least.
The least, yep. And the most, we're going.
Oh, was it Justin Herbert? I feel like it's Justin. I'm not a Ryan Tannehill fan, so I can't even take Ryan Tannehill. Not. So let's go. Joe Burrow. Let's go Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence.
Burrow. Okay, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. Josh, what do we think?
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence feels right, even though I don't know if Ryan Tannehill ever had a top 12 week. I'm trying to think if Trevor Lawrence might have squeaked in with a couple of rushing touchdowns or a rushing touchdown.
It's definitely one that gets you a little bit thinking. I made sure to place 2 that were definitely you think are on the lower end, and then 2 that are on the higher end. So,
all right, I'll agree with the Lawrence, and
okay,
I'll take Herbert. I'll say he was more consistent,
Herbert.
even though I think Burrow had more spike weeks.
All right, top 5 weekly finishes. We are right. So Justin Herbert had 8. Trevor Lawrence never even got in there. Tannehill managed to squeak in there one time, I guess.
He did get one. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, did he have any?
Yeah, right. All right, we got that. We got a 500 out of the way now. Well done.
All right, let's stick with the high-low then. What do we got left in the high-low?
We got 3 and 4.
Let's go 3.
Let's go 3. All right. Oh, there we go. High-low in rushing yards. Jalen Hurts, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Damian Harris.
Henry's such a wild card. Because you're like, he only barely played.
I love him in stats because he is such a wild. It's like 8-9 games played, but he put up crazy touchdowns, crazy yards. Just the usage was absurd.
I think. I'm trying to think. I know Damian Harris had the crazy touchdown total, but I don't think he had a big yardage season. I'm thinking Chubb. I'll take Chubb for number 1 in yards as the high.
Okay.
And then Hurts or Henry? I'll go Hurts. I'm going to say Henry still found a way to get more yardage.
Okay. So Chubb and Hurts, top or high and low. Aaron, what do we think?
Oof. I'll go Henry Hurts.
Henry Hurts. Okay.
That's bold.
All right.
See how this plays out.
We got Chubb and Hurts. So Derrick Henry did beat out Damian Harris and Jalen Hurts in that category with 937, but not quite Chubb levels.
That's
a little
ridiculous.
Bit behind. Crazy, right? Yeah. I exactly. And he was a name where I knew it would still get you thinking a little bit. And he is a name that I believe I have another stat attached to, so that should be fun.
It's gonna be racking my brain again in a few minutes. All right, let's finish off high-low with 400.
All right, high-low 400. We got top 5 weekly finishes. Darren Waller, Hunter Henry, Rob Gronkowski, Tyler Higbee. We got a pack of tight ends.
Yeah.
Not really anyone. There's no Kelsey or Andrews in there, but
I know
solid tight ends this past year, other than some injuries.
There's the spike weeks with Henry. Gronk barely played. I know Darren Waller started out on fire week 1, so that was definitely one. Man, that's top 5 that way. I'll go. I'll say Hunter Henry snuck in with some spike weeks, and then I'll say Higbee had the least.
Okay, so Henry, Higbee. What do we think, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm going with Higbee as the least because I had him on my fantasy for a bit, and I'm almost positive So
I'm right there with you guys.
and I'll go with Darren Weller as the high.
We got Waller
Yeah.
Higbee
Waller.
and we got Henry Higbee. All right, let's see what's up. And we have stumped both of you here as wrong.
The first one,
With-
nobody.
With
I wondered, man. Oh,
least
God.
amount of games played, I think, of the bunch. Maybe
Yeah.
close with Waller, but every time it
Multi-touchdown
seemed he was
games a
on the
couple
field,
times.
he was producing, and he was a top 5. Which, again, it is the tight end position. You probably need like 10 points to be top 5 on the week, but. All right, so we have knocked that high-low out. We got 3s in most categories and 4s in all the other ones still, or 4s and 5s. Sorry.
Where do you want to go, Aaron? You take the lead.
Let's go with who had more for 400.
All right, who had more? 400 games with 20+ PPR points. Aaron Jones or Elijah Mitchell?
Ooh. I'm going with Jones.
Jones. All right, Aaron Jones. What do we think, Josh?
Yeah, I agree. I know Mitchell had a better, more consistent season, but I think Jones hit that spike week more.
All right. You guys are both right there. Nicely done. He had 4. Mitchell, while consistent, like you just said, only had 2 above that threshold. All right. Back to the board.
Keep it rolling, Aaron.
Yeah.
Let's go. Is 300 still open?
300 for who had more? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, here is my man Jalen Hurts popping back up in a question. We got games with 60+ rushing yards. Did Zeke do it or did Jalen Hurts do it?
I had Zeke on my team. He's on my keeper league. And
again, it's not 100 yards, it's 60, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought it was an interesting toss up here.
Oh wow, Jalen Hurts, man.
It's a good one.
Just add another wild card
tight.
that I can throw in.
I'll stick with Elliott just because, with him on my fantasy, I know he got me some solid points some weeks, but I know he had a bit of a slow start, right? So I'll go Elliott.
Okay. And what are we thinking?
Yeah, give me Hurts. Let's make it interesting. I think it could be Hurts here.
All right.
Yeah.
You are right there by 1 game. So Hurts had 7 games with 60+ rushing yards, which is pretty good mark. Pretty good mark, if I say so.
That's gonna be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. We definitely touched on some of that with the Goddard talk, but I can't wait for that team. And they're making some big changes in the defense. They signed Bradbury today. That's a huge signing, right? So definitely, exactly. All right, what are we thinking now?
Did we finish off who had more, or is there one left?
We still got the 5 if you want it.
Let's go big.
Why not? Why not? All right. Who had more games with 20+ PPR points, Mark Andrews or Dalton Schultz?
All right. I'm going to stick with the obvious here and go Andrews, even though I know Schultz had some big ones. I think Andrews is still the better choice here.
Aaron, agree, disagree?
I actually picked up Schultz later on. I know he had some big games, but I don't think he had more than Andrews.
All right. So we're sticking with Andrews?
Yep.
All right. You guys are right, but Schultz with only one less game with that mark. So, this was trickier or closer than it might have seemed by name, but if you were following closely last season, you know that, as you guys alluded to, Schultz had a great season. So,
yeah.
All right, sure we got a couple things. We got 4s and 5s in the middle 3 still, and then we got some 300s in 33% and rank them. But
all right, let's do 300 for 33. Let's get those 300s finished off.
Who had the most games with 10+ PPR points? We got Kyle Pitts, Hunter Henry, or George Kittle.
It's interesting, but I think Kittle missed some time. Henry was inconsistent. Pitts had a really, even though he didn't have touchdown totals, and he had low receptions, but he had a lot of yards. I'll take a shot on Pitts here.
All right, Pitts. Aaron, agree? Different name?
I kind of agree, but I'll just take Henry just to make it a little interesting.
Take it. Okay. And I think I believe it was actually George Kittle with 8. And those other two, they were tied. They had 7 with 10 plus, but George Kittle, even with his injury, seemed like every time he's on the field, much like Gronk, he was producing. He put up those numbers. So, all right. Do you want to knock out the other 300 you were saying?
Let's do it.
All right. Rank them 300. Rank in order of the most rushing touchdowns. We got Debo, Samuel, Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs.
Man, this is a tough one because Debo had a bunch of rushing touchdowns. I think he had like 6. Najee, Jacobs. Okay. I still think I'll go. It's a tough one. I'm gonna go Jacobs, Najee, Debo.
Jacobs, Najee, Debo. All right. Aaron, do we agree with that list?
I'll go Jacobs, Harris, Samuel.
That's the same order, right?
Oh, is it?
Such a name. kind of make it hard on us.
Let's change Samuel and Harris around.
Okay. So Jacobs, Samuel, Harris for you.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. And I believe that was a great switch because Josh Jacobs with 9. Debo actually had 8, not 6, and Najee only had 7, despite finishing so high in fantasy.
Crazy.
So that was another tricky one. Got you there, but we got our 4s and our 5s in the middle three categories.
Oh, let's go rank them 400.
Rank them 400. Rank in order of most top 5 weekly finishes, again in PPR. Sony Michel, DeAndre Swift, Dalvin Cook.
This is a tough one. Oh, man. I got to go. I feel like Swift. Cook, and Sony.
All right. Swift, Cook, Michelle. All right. What do we think?
I'm still going to ride Cook. I think he still had the most top 5. But
okay.
Swift had a couple big games. So did Michelle. Give me Cook, Michelle, Swift. I'll switch it up.
Cook, Michelle, Swift. All right. It was Swift, Dalvin, and Sony.
Wow.
So I think that's Aaron right there.
Well done, Aaron. Come back.
So Sony, despite being a great pickup, halfway through the season on my team for sure, helped me win some weeks, fill in that RB2 slot. He didn't have any top 5. I believe he did have a few in the top 12 or so, or 10 maybe, but didn't quite reach it. And Dalvin, despite having obviously a solid year, only 1 inside the top 5 on the week. Wow. And DeAndre Swift, he's got those in,
Oh, he burned a few times.
All right, back to the board.
Aaron.
We got.
Let's go rank him 500.
Rank him 500. We got rank in order of most 30-point games. And this is in 4-point passing because these are quarterbacks. Okay. Tom Brady, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. And I know 4-point passing is basically like the default, but I have seen a lot of the movement for the 6-point passing, which I haven't really decided my stance on. I think obviously more points is never something I'm mad about, but I think it definitely changes some things. So I don't know, but just wanted to clarify that. Yeah.
All right.
So 30-point games, 4-point passing.
I want to say, oh man, I'm gonna go Tom Brady, Allen, Murray.
So in the order they're on there. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Oof, that's tough.
I'm gonna go reverse. I'll go Kyler, Allen, Brady.
Ooh, I like it. The full reverse. All right. Let's see what we got.
Yeah.
And we got
Allen.
Josh Allen. We
Should've
are
known.
doubting the number one quarterback.
Overall, over one, yeah.
But yep, and I think if we had done 6 point, I think Brady sneaks up there with him,
Right.
somewhat probably, but
The
he didn't
rushing.
quite reach that 4. All right, so stump both of you there.
Back to you.
We
there.
we got our 4s and 5s in the second and the third categories now.
Go more yes or less for 5.
All right, for 5. Antonio Gibson had 8 games with 15 plus PPR points.
Whew.
Did my man have more than that or less than that, or is that exactly right?
I had him on my team.
I
I
know.
know he had some big weeks. I'm going to say yes.
Yes. All right. You agree with that statement. What are we thinking over with you, Josh?
I'm gonna go with less, even though
Yeah.
he had some good
You had
games. I
less?
just don't think he
Okay.
had that many.
All right.
That's a
What
high
do we
number.
have?
Oh,
Yes. That's all that's there. Yes. So he did
Well done,
indeed
buddy.
have 15 or 8
Eight.
games with 15 plus points.
I knew
That's
he
a
had
big-
good season.
He did, and I just acquired him in a massive blockbuster trade involving Jonathan Taylor, and hopefully he has a good year at least.
Let's see. I like him, but I am a little worried about Robinson, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Same there.
All right, Aaron. What do we got? A couple left here. So what we
let's
got?
go 400 for more yes or less.
All right, more yes or less. Gabriel Davis scored as many touchdowns against the Chiefs in the playoff game as he did all season long. So he scored 4 touchdowns in that. Obviously, the game we saw, we were going crazy over. And did he score more than that during the season? Did he have exactly 4, or did he have less than that?
I believe he had less.
You believe he had less? All right, Josh, what do we think?
My brain says 6, but I don't know for sure. But I'll stick with it. I'll go more.
You'll go more. All right. Sorry, I had to just plug my laptop in. All right. He had less in that game. So he had 4 against the Chiefs. He had 6. Or actually, is this worded? Did you actually get it right, Aaron or Josh? So he had 4.
I did say 6, but maybe I confused the wording.
So did he have more in that game than he did in the season? So he had. I mean, you said the right thing though. So
Yeah.
I just read that and confused myself too. Sorry.
I see what you're saying. Was the
So,
game more than
but-
the season versus the season more than the game?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So
I gotcha.
we definitely tripped up, but you got it there. You got it there. That definitely helps. That definitely helps you there. Aaron was looking for a comeback there.
Yeah.
He might be able to hold him off, but we got 2 500s on the board that could swing the whole thing.
Do it.
You pick him, Josh.
What do we got left? 33%?
We got the 33 and then the more yes or less, the 500s in both of those.
All right, let's do the 33.
All right. Who had the most 15 plus PPR point games in games without a touchdown? So in games in which they didn't record a touchdown, who had the most 15 plus point games? Deontay Johnson, Stephon Diggs, or Chris Godwin?
This is a good one.
I liked this one a lot. I knew I had to
Yeah.
throw it in as a 500 because it's a little obscure.
Diggs had lower touchdown totals this year for sure. He didn't have as many big games. I'm not going to go Diggs. Godwin also had low touchdown totals. I think Deontay actually had a surprising amount of touchdowns for this year. Oh, but he did get. All right, I'm going to ride with Godwin here.
Godwin. All right.
Yeah, it's
What do we
tough.
think?
For me, it's between Diggs and Godwin, so I'll go Diggs.
Okay. Let's see what it is. I don't even remember. It is
no, it was
Deontay
Deontay.
Johnson.
Ah.
So he had 5 games where he did not score a touchdown, but still recorded 15 plus points. And our other guys had only 3 and 2. And that's a guy on my squad, and I definitely didn't know that one without looking into it. Even having him on my roster, I did not think he would have led that. Reading that now, I had forgotten who the answer was, and I thought it was potentially Godwin. So, all
Good
right, we
one.
got our 33%, or no, sorry. We got our more yes or less. Oh, what? Maybe we did finish them all.
All right.
I think we did.
All right. Well, I think I still have Josh by a little bit. Actually, did I make a Final Jeopardy? Oh, I did have a
Ooh.
Final Jeopardy.
All right.
Ooh. All right.
All or
How
nothing,
about
Aaron?
we'll
Wager
see?
it all?
Oh, yeah, I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I'll risk it all.
Who
Let's do it.
was the only player to have a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and 75 plus receiving yards in the same game?
Ooh.
I got my answer. Oh, well, it's the only guy that I can. I'm trying to think who threw a touchdown.
I'll count you down if whenever you're both ready, you can say it at the same time. You got an
Who was
answer,
that?
Josh? Okay.
I
No
can
worries.
picture it, but I'm like, who was that? Oh man.
I'm excited. This is, we don't got the names in front of us now. We gotta rack our own brains.
No. Oh, did he have a 75 yard? Okay, I'm going to take a shot at it. The 75 plus receiving yards is throwing me off, but I'm going to still take a shot.
Okay. All right. I'll count down 3, 2, 1. You guys can give your player at that point. All right. So we got 3,
Right, Aaron?
2, 1.
Cordell.
Derrick Henry.
Cordell. Peterson.
Okay. You said Cordell. All right. Cordell Patterson. And we got Derrick Henry, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And just make sure you guys obviously spoke at the same time. I didn't coordinate that well. But all right. Let's see. Debo Samuel, week 18. This is his unicorn game where he had one pass. It was a 24-yard touchdown, 8 for 45 and a rushing touchdown, and he still had 4 catches for almost 100 yards receiving. He does it all.
Crazy. Debo makes sense. I didn't remember that he passed for a touchdown, though.
Yes, absolutely.
That was fantastic. I enjoyed myself thoroughly.
There we go.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Here we go. All right, I'm back. I can see myself again.
There we go.
I'm glad you guys had fun. It's just little stats, little players. Some of these I took all 3 names in each question directly off my buddy's dynasty roster and stuff like that. And and trust me, I made them play it, and they still didn't know it's all 3 of their receivers on their team, and they're like.
Some of them are so tight. It's so easy.
Exactly. I tried to make it tighter as if it went down, but even some of the 1 and 2s, some of them still got you. So I'm glad you guys had some fun with that, and I look forward to trying that out with some other people and want to show them that too.
That was a great time, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks for entertaining us and providing some stat competition. Aaron and I love competing against each other.
I love it.
All right. So as we said, you can find us on the website, Gibson Fantasy Football, Gibson_FF, Instagram, YouTube, Podbean, Gibson Fantasy Football. Conan, you want to throw your handle out there?
Yeah. So over on Twitter, I'm at OneStat1Day. No underscores or caps or anything like that, where I run some NFL trivia stats most nights of the week when I can. Come check it out if you're listening. Obviously, you love football and fantasy football. I think it's a good place for you to be. So, and thank you again for having me on. I had a blast as well. So can't wait to hop on some other time as well.
Yeah. Thanks again for
Thank
coming
you.
in. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Until next time, clear eyes, full heart.